The night was quiet in the tall glass tower of Xerath Corporation. The richest company on the alien planet Nithora Prime. Most lights were off. Only the soft hum of cleaning drones echoed through the empty halls. But one man still worked, a human janitor named Ethan Cole. Ethan had been working here for 2 years, cleaning the floors that thousands of alien workers walked on every day. No one really noticed him, not the guards, not the managers, not even the robots. To them, he was just another human, silent, simple and unimportant. But Ethan had a reason to stay. He needed money for his sick son Ben back on Earth. So he worked night shifts and slept during the day, always tired but never complaining. That night, while he mopped the shining crystal floors of the top level, he heard something strange, not a voice, not a machine, but a faint tapping sound like someone knocking slowly. Tap, tap, tap. He looked around, but the hall was empty. The sound came again from the far end near the CEO's private wing. Ethan frowned, gripping his mop tightly. No one was supposed to be there this late. The area was always locked, still. Curiosity pulled him forward step by step, until he reached a large silver door half open inside. Moonlight from the planet's twin moon shone through the glass walls, lighting a room filled with strange glowing plants and toys. And there, sitting on the cold marble floor, was a little alien girl. Her skin was pale blue. Her hair shone like silver threads and her big eyes glowed softly like stars. She looked around, confused, pressing her fingers to her ears. Then tapping the ground again, Ethan froze, unsure what to do. The girl saw him and stood up quickly. Afraid, her lips moved but no sound came out. Ethan raised his hand slowly to show he meant no harm. "Hey, are you lost?" he said softly. But she didn't respond. She just stared, blinking. She tried to speak again. Her mouth formed words, but there was only silence. Ethan realized it. The girl couldn't hear him, and maybe couldn't even hear herself. He pointed to his ear, then to hers, asking with his eyes, "You can't hear?" She looked down and nodded slowly. Her small hands moved in the air. Signs, gestures, but he didn't understand. Still, he felt something, a sadness, a loneliness coming from her. She looked so fragile, so quiet, like a lost bird who had forgotten what singing felt like. Ethan walked closer and knelt down, placing his cleaning cloth aside. "It's okay," he whispered, though he knew she couldn't hear. The girl tilted her head, watching his lips move. Her eyes curious but unsure, she pointed to herself and mouthed the word Lyra, then touched her chest again. "Lyra." Ethan smiled gently and nodded, pointing to himself. Ethan, for a moment, they just looked at each other. A silent man and a silent girl from 2 different worlds. Then suddenly Lyra stepped closer and grabbed his hand. Pressing it gently to her ear, Ethan was surprised, but he didn't pull away. Her skin was warm, glowing faintly under his touch, and then something impossible happened. A soft pulse of blue light spread from his hand. Like ripples in water, Ethan gasped, his heart pounding. Lyra's eyes widened and her lips parted in shock. She blinked fast and touched her ear, trembling, and then she spoke in a soft, broken voice. I hear something." Ethan froze, unable to speak. Her voice cracked like the first note of a forgotten song. She pressed her ear to his chest, tears falling down her glowing cheeks. "I hear, it's a beat," she whispered. Ethan realized what she meant. She was hearing his heartbeat. It was the first sound of her life. He didn't understand how, but somehow, his touch had done what alien science couldn't. The silence around them was now filled with the sound of wonder. Her small gasps, her trembling laughter, her tears. Ethan smiled gently, his own eyes wet. "It's okay, little one," he said softly. "You're hearing for the first time." Outside, a security camera blinked red, recording everything. In another room, deep below, a set of alien eyes watched the footage. Lord Zyrak, the billionaire CEO of Xerath Corporation. He leaned forward, eyes narrowing. That human janitor had just done the impossible. His deaf daughter had heard her first sound, through a human's touch. As Lyra hugged Ethan tightly, the camera zoomed in, capturing the light still glowing faintly on his hand. The impossible had happened quietly. In the middle of the night, no one knew yet, but this moment would soon shake the entire galaxy. Because a simple human janitor had awakened a forgotten power and given sound to the daughter of the richest alien in the stars. The next morning, the entire Xerath Tower buzzed with whispers. Guards ran through the halls, scientists filled the top floors, and the sound of alarms echoed softly in the distance. Something strange had happened during the night, something the world had never seen before. In his small janitor's room, Ethan Cole sat on the edge of his bed. Staring at his hands, they still tingled faintly, as if they remembered the glow from last night. He didn't know how to explain it. He had only touched the little girl's ear, and suddenly she had heard. It made no sense. Not to him, not to anyone, but deep in his heart, he knew what he saw was real. She heard his heartbeat. Then the door burst open. 2 tall alien guards in silver armor entered, their glowing eyes fixed on him. "Human, come with us," one said coldly. Ethan raised his hands, confused and afraid. "I didn't do anything wrong," he said. They grabbed him roughly and dragged him through the shining corridors. Every worker stopped and stared. A human janitor being dragged to the top floor was unheard of. The guards led him into a vast crystal chamber filled with alien scientists and glowing machines. And standing in the middle was Lord Zirak, the billionaire ruler himself. His long robe shimmered like molten metal, his presence heavy and powerful. But beside him stood Lyra, his daughter, her silver hair shining brighter than before when she saw Ethan. Her face lit up. "Father, that's him," she said clearly, her voice soft but full of life. Every scientist froze. Her words were perfectly formed, no stutter, no device, no translator. The deaf girl of the galaxy was speaking. Ethan's mouth fell open. He could barely believe it. She could talk now. She ran to him and held his hand tightly. Her eyes wet. "He made me hear," she said. Turning to her father, "He touched me and I heard." The room filled with murmurs. Machines recorded every word. Lord Zirak's glowing eyes softened for a moment, then hardened again. He stepped closer, his tall figure towering over Ethan. "What did you do to my daughter, human?" he demanded, his voice deep and cold. Ethan shook his head. "I don't know, sir. She was crying. I just touched her ear." "Touched?" Zirak repeated, anger mixing with disbelief. "Do you think we didn't try that? 20 of the best doctors in the galaxy have failed." One scientist whispered, "My lord, her hearing is not mechanical. It's biological. The human may have triggered something," another added nervously. "We detected an unknown energy during the event, a resonance frequency." From his body, Zirak turned sharply. "A resonance frequency? Explain." But the scientist only shook his head. "We have never seen anything like it." Lyra held her father's arm, her voice trembling. "Father, don't hurt him. Please." For a moment, the mighty alien lord looked at his little girl, the child who had never heard his voice before. She looked up at him, tears in her eyes, whispering, "I finally heard you say my name." Zirak's hand trembled, his anger fading into something softer, something he had forgotten. "Love." He turned to Ethan. "You will stay here. We must study you. If you can heal her, you will heal her completely." Ethan looked down, thinking of his son Ben, sick and alone on Earth. "If I help you," he said quietly, "will you help my boy? He's dying and your people have medicine that can save him." Zirak paused, his golden eyes narrowing. "If you can make my daughter hear the world," he said, "then I will make your son live." The scientists immediately surrounded Ethan, taking samples, scanning his hands, his heartbeat, his breath. They whispered words like human frequency, energy wave, bioempathy, but none of their machines could explain what truly happened. Because it wasn't science. It was something deeper, older, hidden in humanity's soul. That night Lyra couldn't sleep. She sat by the window, listening to the sound of wind, the hum of the city, and the faint heartbeat she remembered. She closed her eyes and whispered softly, "Ethan, I can hear the stars now, below her." In the janitor's small room, Ethan sat alone, thinking of his son's smile and the strange light that had come from his hands. He didn't know why this happened, but he could feel it. The sound he gave her wasn't just hearing. It was life. Meanwhile, across the city, alien news networks began to buzz with a shocking headline. "Deaf alien princess can hear. Human janitor responsible." On distant planets, people whispered the same question. How can a human do what alien science could not? And in the cold halls of the Galactic Council, unseen by both of them, a shadowy figure watched the report and smiled. "The humans are awakening," he said softly, just as the prophecy warned. The next sunrise painted the towers of Zirath City in gold, but inside the glass palace of Lord Zirak, the air was heavy and cold. Every scientist, guard, An official in the building whispered the same thing. A human had done the impossible. Lyra, the deaf daughter of the richest alien in the galaxy, could now hear and speak, and the man who did it wasn't a doctor or engineer, just a tired human janitor. Ethan Cole sat in a large glass chamber under bright white lights. Surrounded by humming alien machines, they scanned his heartbeat, his skin, even the rhythm of his breath. He tried to stay calm, but his mind was full of worry for his son, Ben, who was still on Earth, sick and waiting. He didn't understand what was happening, only that these aliens didn't see him as a man anymore. They saw him as an experiment. The doors opened with a deep sound, and Lord Zirak entered the room, tall and proud. His golden eyes glowed faintly. His voice smooth but sharp. "Human," he said. "You touched my daughter and changed her life. Now you will do it again." But fully, permanently. Ethan stood slowly, his face calm. "Sir, I don't know how it happened. I only wanted to help her." Zirak's eyes narrowed. "You may not know how, but you will learn. I am offering you something no human has ever been offered before. Power, wealth, and healing for your sick child." Ethan's heart skipped a beat. He thought of Ben lying weak in the small medical tent back home. Alien medicine could save his son in minutes. But there was something about Zirak's tone that chilled him. The billionaire didn't sound like a father. He sounded like a general planning to use a weapon. "What will you do with me after she's cured?" Ethan asked carefully. Zirak's eyes flashed. "That depends on how useful you prove to be." At that moment, Lyra entered the chamber, her silver hair glowing under the lights, her eyes full of life. "Father, please don't treat him like this," she said. "He's not a lab subject, he's my friend." Zirak looked at her, his expression hard but his heart softening slightly. He turned away. "You do not understand, Lyra. What he carries could change our empire. It could heal millions. It could end deafness, blindness, even death itself." Lyra walked up to Ethan, ignoring the guards, and held his hand. "When you touched me, I didn't just hear your heartbeat," she said softly. "I felt your pain, your love for your son, your sadness." Ethan looked down, his voice quiet. "Maybe that's what made it work. Not power, not science. Just feeling." The scientists in the room watched, speechless. One of them whispered, "It's human empathy." "Emotional resonance," another nodded. "Their bodies are weak, but their emotions, they're powerful, almost alive." Lord Zirak turned to the scientists, his tone sharp. "Find out how it works. I want every detail. Every molecule of this ability." Ethan stepped forward, his jaw tight. "You can't take feelings and put them in a bottle." Zirak's cold eyes met his. "Watch me," he said, then turned to leave, his golden robe flowing behind him. When the guards moved closer, Lyra quickly whispered to Ethan, "Don't let them hurt you. I'll help you." He nodded slightly. That night, she sneaked into the lab again, bringing him food and water. "I told Father I won't let them use you," she said. "He's scared, you know. He lost my mother because no medicine could save her. He wants control so no one can suffer again." Ethan sighed. Sometimes trying to control everything is what causes more pain. Then, something unexpected happened. The air in the chamber began to hum softly again. Lyra felt warmth near her ears, the same pulse as before. Ethan's hands glowed faintly blue as he reached out to steady her. The lights flickered and the machines went wild. Recording new readings, one scientist outside gasped, "The frequency is rising and he's doing it again." Lyra smiled through her tears. "It's happening again, Ethan. I can hear even clearer now." Her senses stretched. She could hear the hum of the city outside, the whisper of distant wind, even her father's heartbeat floors below. It was no longer just hearing, it was connection. And Ethan, trembling, realized that the more he cared, the stronger the energy became. But beyond the glass walls, Lord Zirak was watching through hidden monitors, his eyes filled with a mix of fear and fascination. "This human," he whispered, "he's not a servant. He's a key." The galaxy would soon know that a simple human janitor carried the one thing every alien empire had forgotten: a heart that could heal, and emotions that could awaken power older than the stars themselves. For 3 days, the labs inside Zirath Tower never slept. Machines hummed, lights blinked, and alien scientists whispered in fear and fascination. Every reading, every scan of Ethan Cole showed the same thing: an energy pattern they had never seen before. It wasn't chemical, it wasn't electrical, it was emotional. Alive and human, they called it resonance. a field of living energy that reacted to feelings like love, fear, or pain. The more Ethan cared, the stronger the resonance became. And no alien, not even the most advanced species, had anything like it. In one corner of the room, Ethan sat quietly on a metal chair, tired and uneasy. They had taken his blood, tested his nerves, and scanned his brain over and over. Every time he thought it was over, another group came in with more questions. He didn't understand their science, he only knew one thing. He missed his son. Ben was still on Earth, growing weaker every day. Every time Ethan closed his eyes, he saw the boy's pale smile. That memory made his chest ache, but it also made his hands warm. The same warmth that healed Lyra's ears. Lyra, meanwhile, was no longer the silent girl the galaxy once pitied. She could now hear every sound, but even more. She could feel them. She told her father that sounds had emotions, that his voice carried cold storms, while Ethan's heartbeat sounded like calm fire. At first, Zyrak thought it was nonsense, but when his scientists tested her, they saw something impossible. Her hearing went beyond sound. She could detect emotion frequencies, invisible to machines, one scientist whispered in awe. She's not just hearing. She's listening to souls. That sentence spread through the tower like lightning. The Alien Council demanded reports. The military wanted answers. And the press called Ethan a miracle weapon. Ethan hated those words. He wasn't a weapon. He was just a man who wanted to help a girl and save his son. But now the galaxy was turning him into something else, something dangerous. That evening, Zyrak called Ethan into his private chamber. The walls shimmered like molten glass, the floor made of living crystal that pulsed with every heartbeat in the room. Zyrak stood by the window watching the stars beyond. "Do you know what you are, human?" he asked quietly. Ethan shook his head. "Just a janitor." Zyrak turned slowly, his golden eyes glowing faintly. "No, you're something older, something we thought was extinct." He waved his hand, and a hologram filled the room. Ancient carvings, symbols of humans and light. "These are from before the Galactic War. Before your kind lost contact with the stars," Zyrak said. "It is said that early humans could heal with touch, speak through emotion, and change the balance of energy itself." He paused, staring at Ethan. "They were called resonants, beings whose hearts could connect with all life." Ethan listened in silence. His chest tight. "Then why did we lose it?" he asked. Zyrak looked away. "Because humans feared their own hearts. They turned to machines and forgot what made them powerful." The words struck Ethan deeply. All his life he thought humans were the weakest species in the galaxy. Small, fragile, poor. But now, standing in front of a billionaire alien, he realized humans had something no wealth or weapon could buy. Compassion that created power. Suddenly, an alarm echoed through the tower. Red lights flashed and the ground trembled. A scientist ran in shouting, "My lord, the Galactic Research Guild has sent ships. They demand the human for testing." Zyrak clenched his jaw. "They know too much." He turned to Ethan. "They will take you, study you, maybe kill you. I can't stop them forever." Lyra ran in, her face pale. "Father, we can't let them take him." Zyrak looked between them, torn between duty and love. He whispered, "Go. Both of you. Now." Ethan hesitated. "You're helping us?" Zyrak nodded slowly. "You gave my daughter sound. I will give you time." Guards loyal to Zyrak led Ethan and Lyra through hidden tunnels beneath the tower. The city above roared with chaos. Ships landing, soldiers marching, searchlights slicing the night as they ran. Lyra covered her ears and whispered, "I can hear their thoughts. They want to cut you open." Ethan's heart pounded. "Then we keep moving." When they reached the exit, Lyra looked up at the sky filled with alien ships and said softly, "Ethan, they'll never stop. You know that," he nodded, breathing hard. "Then we give them something to fear, the truth about humans." Behind them, the tower shook as explosions lit the skyline. Inside his office, Lord Zyrak watched the flames rise and whispered to himself, "The galaxy wanted power. Now it will hear the sound of the human heart." Far away, Ethan and Lyra disappeared into the night. Two fugitives, one who could hear the universe, and one whose heart could change it. And somewhere deep in the dark sky, the first echoes of resonance began to spread across the stars, a human sound that would soon awaken every world. The night sky over Nathora Prime burned with searchlights. Every ship, every drone, and every camera was hunting for one human, Ethan Cole. the janitor who healed a billionaire's deaf daughter, now called by the galaxy's media, the human. Miracle, the forbidden healer, the resonant. But to Ethan, it didn't feel like a miracle. He was just running, hand in hand with Lyra, through the dark tunnels beneath the Silver City. Every sound echoed like thunder, the boots of soldiers. Above the hum of scanners, the deep pounding of his own heart, Lyra kept her glowing eyes closed, listening to the world. "I can hear them," she whispered. "They're angry, scared. They don't understand what you are." Ethan nodded, breathless. "I don't understand it either." After hours of hiding, they reached the old mining district, a broken place filled with rusted machines and quiet shadows. Here, no one cared who you were, human or alien, rich or poor. They found shelter inside an abandoned power station. Lyra sat near the cold metal wall, her hands trembling. "Ethan," she said softly, "when you touched me, I didn't just hear. I felt something inside you." Ethan looked at her, confused. "What?"
"Did you feel? Hope," she whispered. "Even when you were afraid, your hope was loud."
It made me hear again. Ethan smiled weakly. "I guess humans still have something left to give." But outside, the galaxy thought differently. On the largest news networks, alien anchors shouted about a dangerous human energy that could threaten balance. Governments feared it, companies wanted to own it, and some secretly wanted it destroyed. Back inside Zerath Tower, Lord Zyrak faced the council through a glowing hologram. Cold alien faces surrounded him, demanding answers. "You hid the human," said one counselor. "You let him escape." Zyrak's voice was calm but tired. "He's not a threat. He's proof of something greater, the human spirit." Another snarled, "Spirit does not concern us. Power does." Zyrak clenched his fists but said nothing. He knew the council would send more ships. They wanted Ethan captured at any cost. Meanwhile, in the shadows, Lyra made her choice. She turned to Ethan, her eyes steady. "I'm going back," she said. Ethan's eyes widened. "What?" "No, you'll get caught." She shook her head. "They'll listen to me. They won't hurt me. If I speak, maybe they'll stop this hunt." He grabbed her arm, desperate. "Lyra, they won't listen to a child." She looked up at him, her voice calm but firm. "Then I'll make them listen." The next morning, the galaxy saw something it never expected. A broadcast appeared on every screen, every station, every starship. It was Lyra, the billionaire's daughter, standing before the cameras. Her voice was strong, her silver hair glowing softly under. "The studio lights, I was born deaf," she began. "No alien doctor could fix me. No machine could help. But a human, a janitor, touched my ear and gave me sound." The crowd watching across 100 worlds went silent. She continued, her voice trembling with emotion. "He didn't use weapons or science. He used kindness. He used love. He didn't want power. He only wanted to save his son. And you call that dangerous?" Tears rolled down her cheeks, but she didn't stop. "If compassion is danger, then your empires are already broken. If feeling makes us weak, then I will stay weak forever because weakness gave me life. Gave me." Her words spread faster than light. Millions of aliens paused to listen. On distant planets, workers, slaves, and common people began whispering, "Humans are not weak. They're what we forgot to be." Ethan watched the broadcast from the shadows of the power station. His eyes were wet, his hands shaking. He had never heard anyone defend humanity like that. Not even humans themselves. He whispered softly, "You're brave, Lyra. Braver than anyone I've ever met." But courage had a price. Moments later, soldiers stormed the broadcast room, arresting Lyra and cutting the signal. Across the galaxy, outrage exploded. Protests, debates, chaos. Zyrak rushed to the command center, shouting at his guards, "Find her! Don't! Let them take her to the council." When Ethan saw the report, his decision was instant. He packed his small bag, his heart pounding like thunder. "I'm going to get her," he said to himself. He didn't care if the galaxy saw him as a monster. He was done hiding. That night, under the blue glow of Nethora's twin moons, a single human slipped through the streets. He carried no weapon, no armor, only a promise. To save the girl who had once hurt his heart. The galaxy didn't know it, but the janitor was about to challenge empires with nothing but the power of a human soul. And soon, the sound of his footsteps would echo far beyond one planet, into the stars themselves, where the word human would once again mean hope. The city of Nethora Prime burned with chaos. After Lyra's speech spread through the galaxy, everything changed. Riots in the streets, ships in the skies, and whispers in every corner. Humans are not weak. Humans can heal. Ethan Cole moved through the shadows, his clothes torn, his eyes fierce with purpose. He was no longer the quiet janitor who mopped marble floors. He was a father, a friend, and now, the most hunted man in the galaxy. But fear couldn't stop him. Not tonight. Lyra was captured, locked inside the floating fortress above the capital city, and he had promised himself he wouldn't let her suffer for his gift. The fortress floated like a black storm cloud, guarded by hundreds of alien warships. Its walls pulsed with blue light, its energy fields humming like thunder. Ethan looked up at it from the rooftop of a nearby tower, his heart racing. He held a small device in his hand, a stolen gravity key, given to him by one of Zyrak's loyal engineers. "It will open one door," the alien had whispered, "but only once. After that, you're on your own." Ethan smiled faintly. One door is enough. Then he leapt into the night. The wind roared around him as he fell toward the fortress. He pressed the gravity key, and his fall slowed, his body surrounded by glowing particles. He landed on the metal surface like a ghost, silent and unseen. Guards patrolled nearby, their armor glowing red. Ethan crouched low and moved through the shadows, every step guided by memory and hope. Inside the prison wing, Lyra sat in a glass cell, her eyes closed. Even in silence, she could hear everything. The anger in the soldiers' hearts, the fear in their commanders' voices. She heard something else too, a soft, familiar rhythm echoing far away. A heartbeat, steady and strong, her lips curved into a faint smile. "Ethan, you came." Moments later, alarms blared. Lights flashed red and the fortress shook. Ethan had reached her cell, cutting wires and smashing the lock with a stolen tool. When the door opened, Lyra ran to him, tears in her glowing eyes. "I knew you'd come," she whispered. He smiled. "You talk too much for someone who used to be quiet." She laughed softly, and for a brief second, the chaos around them disappeared. But reality hit fast. Soldiers surrounded the corridor, weapons raised. "Freeze. Human," one shouted. Ethan stood still, shielding Lyra behind him. "I don't want to fight," he said. "I just want her free." But the soldiers fired anyway, blue energy blasts flying through the air. Ethan threw his arms around Lyra and something inside him exploded. A wave of blue light burst outward faster than sound. It hit the walls, the guards, even the metal itself. Everything froze. The soldiers dropped their weapons, their armor cracked with energy. Lyra looked up, eyes wide. "Ethan, your hands," she whispered. They were glowing brighter than before, alive with blue fire. Every pulse matched his heartbeat. The air vibrated with power, not from anger, not from fear, but from love. Because in that moment, all Ethan could think about was saving Lyra and his son. He took her hand, and together they ran through the collapsing corridors. Glass shattered, alarms wailed, and explosions echoed across the sky. They reached the launch bay, where small escape ships were docked. "Go!" Ethan shouted, pushing her toward one, but Lyra shook her head. "Not without you." A huge blast rocked the platform, sending them both to the ground. Fire rained from above as warships fired on the fortress. Through the smoke, a familiar voice called out. Lord Zyrak, he appeared, his armor scorched, his golden eyes burning. "Get in the ship," he shouted at his daughter. "Both of you." Lyra hesitated. "Father, you'll die." Zyrak looked at Ethan, then at her. I already died the day I stopped believing in kindness, he said quietly. He pressed a control on his wrist, opening the shield around the hangar. Go now, before they destroy everything. Ethan grabbed Lyra's hand, pulling her into the escape ship. As the engines roared to life, Zyrak stood behind, watching. Lyra pressed her hand to the glass, tears streaming. He smiled faintly and whispered, "Make them remember humanity." The ship blasted into the sky, fire trailing behind it. Below, the fortress erupted in light, a massive explosion that swallowed the night. From space, it looked like a star being born. The human janitor and the alien girl watched in silence as the world below faded away. Your father saved us, Ethan said softly. Lyra wiped her tears, her voice trembling. He believed in you. Ethan looked out the window, the stars reflecting in his eyes. Then we'll make it worth his sacrifice, he said. We'll tell them what humans really are. The ship vanished into the endless dark, leaving behind only one echo. A sound that rippled through space, soft but eternal, the sound of a human heartbeat, the rhythm that would soon change the galaxy forever. The stars outside the escape ship glowed like endless candles. Ethan and Lyra sat in silence, the hum of the engine the only sound. They had escaped Nithora Prime, but the world they knew was gone, behind them. Lord Zyrak's fortress burned in orbit, its light fading into dust. Lyra pressed her hand against the window, her silver eyes full of tears. I can still hear him, she whispered, his voice. It's in the stars. Ethan looked at her, his face calm but heavy with sadness. He gave everything to protect you, he said softly, and he trusted me to keep you safe. For a while they said nothing. The silence between them was full, not empty, filled with the echoes of loss and hope. Then Lyra turned to Ethan. Where will we go now? Ethan leaned back, closing his eyes. Somewhere no one owns us. Somewhere we can start again, but fate had other plans. Their ship's scanners began to beep, dozens of signals closing in. Galactic council ships, massive and glowing, surrounding them from every direction. This is Captain Oren of the council fleet, a voice thundered through the speakers. Surrender the human and the girl. You are charged with breaking biological law. Ethan gritted his teeth. They still think this is about laws. Lyra grabbed his hand, her voice steady. Then show them what it's really about. Outside, the warships formed a circle, bright lights locking onto their small escape vessel. Ethan Cole, the captain said. You are ordered to come out peacefully. Ethan looked at Lyra, then smiled faintly. Peaceful's not really working for us, huh? She smiled back through her tears. Then let's show them peace another way. They stood together in the cockpit. Hands linked, Ethan's palms glowed faint blue, and Lyra's ears shimmered with soft light. A pulse began between them. Slow, deep, alive. It wasn't magic or weaponry. It was feeling, the pure sound of connection between two souls who refused to give up hope. The pulse grew stronger. Every ship's sensors started to spike. Sir, energy surge detected, shouted an alien officer. It's not a weapon, it's sound. Across the fleet, the pilots froze, hearing something they had never heard before. A rhythm, faint but clear, and a heartbeat. It wasn't just Ethan's, it was Lyra's too, mixed with his. Blending into one gentle harmony, the sound spread through space, through metal, through minds, and wherever it reached, soldiers stopped fighting. Scientists stopped speaking, they felt something. Warmth, sorrow, peace like emotions they had long buried. Lyra opened her eyes, glowing brighter now, her voice trembling. They can hear us, Ethan. Every one of them. He nodded. Then let them know who we are. She closed her eyes and spoke softly, her words carried by the sound itself. We are not your enemies. We are not your tools. We are hearts that still remember kindness. You fear humans because we remind you of what you've forgotten. How to care. Her voice echoed through the void. On every ship, on every planet tuned to the broadcast. People listened, even the council chamber went silent. Old leaders felt tears roll down faces that had not cried in centuries. Zyrak's last act, the sacrifice of a father, had made this moment possible. His daughter's voice and the human's heart had joined as one. And through that union, the galaxy remembered something ancient. Empathy. Something stronger than any empire. The council captain lowered his weapon slowly. He whispered to his crew, "Stand down." The lights dimmed, the sirens stopped. All across the fleet, soldiers laid down their guns. The silence that followed was unlike any before. It wasn't fear, it was peace. Ethan smiled faintly, exhausted. Looks like we finally made them listen, he said. Lyra leaned her head on his shoulder, whispering, no, we made them feel. Days later, the galaxy changed. The Council declared humanity a sentient heritage species, no longer servants or lower beings, but ancient guardians of resonance and the keepers of emotion. Xerak's company became a foundation for peace, spreading human values across the stars. Ethan and Lyra disappeared from public view. Some said they returned to Earth. Some said they built a hidden school, a place where humans and aliens learned together. But all across the galaxy, people still spoke of the sound that changed the stars. And when children looked up at the sky and placed their hands over their hearts, they could sometimes hear it too, a faint echo, soft and endless, a heartbeat traveling between worlds, the rhythm of a janitor who healed through kindness, and the girl who learned to hear the universe. Because in the end, it wasn't power that saved the stars, it was a human touch,